around the world. Banners are waving, armies are marching, and leaders are standing shoulder in a show designed to make us tremble. But the real question is this: do parades define power, or does power come from something far deeper? Something no display can imitate. A storm gathering on the horizon is never truly about the storm itself, but about how those who see it choose to react. In politics and in power, perception often outweighs reality. When the world witnesses military parades, leaders locking arms, and the banners of unity waving high in distant capitals, the first instinct among many is to feel alarmed. Fear, after all, is the most immediate response to displays meant to intimidate. Yet the measure of true strength lies in whether one succumbs to that fear or instead stands rooted in confidence. It is easy to look at columns of soldiers marching in perfect rhythm and hear the thunder of foreign rhetoric and conclude that something new and dangerous is forming. But power is not in choreography or in carefully staged demonstrations. Power is in resilience, in resources, in the institutions that have weathered storms before and can do so again. The hook of this moment, then, is not that the world is shifting, but that those shifts are not met with trembling hands. Consider how global rivalries are often performed for audiences. The march of troops through capital boulevards, the roar of jets across skis, the photographs of leaders standing shoulder to shoulder, these are carefully curated signals. They are designed to send chills into the spines of those watching from afar, to suggest that something unstoppable is taking shape. The hook lies in refusing to play the part of the frightened observer. Instead, the answer comes with calmness, with the assurance that even the loudest spectacle does not rewrite the basic facts of global strength. There is a certain defiance in meeting noise with silence, drama with composure, and threats with a simple refusal to acknowledge weakness. The world has seen this play before. During the Cold War, during the rise of competing blocs, during moments when adversaries shouted about a new order, America's strength was never measured by how loudly others proclaimed their alliances. It was measured by how firmly it stayed the course. Concern is the companion of insecurity, but when a nation understands its foundation, its unmatched military, its economic reach, its creative engine, it knows that spectacles abroad cannot unseat its place in the hierarchy of power. Fear spreads quickly when leaders show it, and reassurance spreads even faster when they refuse to bend. By setting the tone that there is no cause for alarm, the message is not only to adversaries but also to allies and citizens alike: the foundation is steady, and the storm will not shake it. There is also something to be said about the psychology of power. Rivals feed on the reactions they provoke. If panic is seen, if anxiety is heard, their strategy succeeds before a shot is fired. But when their boldest performances meet a wall of confidence, they find their narrative hollowed out. That is why the opening words matter so much. A storm may be gathering, but here the answer is not fear, it is resolve. The power of that stance sets the tone for everything that follows, because the greatest strength is not found in the absence of threats, but in the refusal to be defined by them. Foreign leaders understand the language of symbolism, and they wield it with precision. When armies are lined up in perfect formation, when tanks roll across avenues designed for display, and when aircraft thunder overhead in rehearsed unison, the message is not subtle. It is a carefully choreographed performance meant to broadcast unity, strength, and permanence. Alongside these military exhibitions come the diplomatic rituals: leaders standing shoulder to shoulder, waving to crowds, exchanging smiles before the cameras. These moments are not improvised, they are staged, managed to communicate a narrative of solidarity. The implication is that a powerful coalition is forming, that the world should take notice, and that the balance of power is shifting away from those who have long held it. The choreography is as much for international audiences as it is for domestic ones. Citizens at home see their leaders in commanding positions, flanked by allies, supported by legions of soldiers, and they are reassured that their nation is secure. Observers abroad see the same images and are meant to feel unsettled, to wonder whether a new world order is on the rise. The repetition of such spectacles across capitals reinforces the idea that momentum is building, that what was once unthinkable is now inevitable. This is the power of optics, the ability to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of rivals and to amplify the confidence of allies. Yet beneath the grander lies calculation. These alignments are often temporary, built on convenience rather than genuine trust. The handshake caught on camera may conceal unspoken disagreements. The shared smiles may mask conflicting interests. And the pledges of unity may not withstand the weight of time. History is replete with examples of alliances forged in moments of spectacle only to collapse under the pressure of reality. Nevertheless, in the immediate moment, the visual impression can be potent. Rivals understand that if they can shape the conversation around unity, they can influence how the world interprets their strength. This is why the narrative of a new axis or front gains traction so quickly. It is not that the military parades themselves alter the balance of power, but that the perception of alignment creates ripples across global politics. Commentators seize on the images, analysts debate their significance, and governments are forced to respond. The more these spectacles are amplified, the more they take on a life of their own. What may have begun as theater transforms into what looks like geopolitical reality, even if the underlying foundations are weaker than they appear. In such a climate, the danger is not in the parades themselves, but in the stories they inspire. Spectacle becomes a tool of strategy, magnifying influence far beyond the material capabilities of those involved. It is a reminder that in international politics, appearances can drive fear, and fear can drive policy. The formation of unity abroad may or may not hold substance, but its power lies in convincing the world that a shift is already underway. The foundation of national confidence rests not in pageantry or spectacle, but in tangible strength that endure beyond any single moment. Military power is the most visible of these strengths, and despite the images of foreign troops marching abroad, the reality is that no other force on earth rivals the depth, reach, and sophistication of American arms. From advanced missile systems to unmatched naval presence, from cutting-edge stealth technology to the world's largest network of military bases, the capability to project force remains unparalleled. It is not just about the size of the arsenal, but about the ability to deploy it anywhere on the globe with precision and speed. Rivals may present themselves as ascendant, but they are not yet in a position to contest this overwhelming advantage in any direct or sustained way. The assurance that no coalition can erase the superiority is part of why concern is dismissed so firmly. Beyond the battlefield lies the economy, the second pillar of enduring strength. Markets across continents still move in response to decisions made in America. The dollar remains the currency of global trade, the anchor of reserves held by nations that otherwise speak about reducing dependency, but continue to rely on its stability. Innovation in finance, leadership in trade agreements, and sheer consumer demand tie the global system to American prosperity. Even when challenges emerge, the scale of this economy provides resilience unmatched by those who, to present an alternative. The reach of industries, from agriculture to technology to energy, ensures that America remains deeply embedded in the global marketplace in ways that rivals cannot easily dislodge. Innovation itself is the third and perhaps most decisive strength. It is one thing to wield existing power, it is another to continually create the future. Universities, research institutions, private companies, and an entrepreneurial spirit combine to produce breakthroughs that set the pace for the world. Whether in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, clean energy, or space exploration, the engine of invention keeps the nation ahead of those who focus more on imitating than creating. Rivals may showcase unity through parades, but the tools they parade often reflect technologies developed elsewhere, copied rather than pioneered. The ability to lead the next wave of human progress is not a quality that can be conjured by alliances. It requires a culture that rewards experimentation and risk-taking. Taken together, these strengths form a foundation that cannot be easily shaken by outward displays abroad. Military dominance ensures security, economic reach ensures influence, and innovation ensures future relevance. This combination is why confidence can replace concern and why the storm abroad does not lead to panic at home. The spectacle of foreign unity may attempt to create the illusion of rising strength, but illusions falter in the face of hard realities. The institutions, resources, and creativity that underpin American power are not diminished by parades in distant capitals. They remain the anchor of global stability and the reassurance that appearances alone cannot dictate the balance of power, concern has always been the companion of doubt. And doubt is the one thing that adversaries hope to ignite when they orchestrate grand displays of unity. The choice to respond without alarm is more than a gesture of confidence. It is a deliberate strategy designed to undercut the purpose of the spectacle itself. Rivals who march their troops and present their leaders side by side are not only trying to reassure their own populations, but also to provoke unease in those who watch from afar. If that unease turns into fear, if governments begin to question their own footing, then the performance has succeeded without a single shot being fired. By refusing to display concern, the intended narrative collapses and the meaning of the spectacle is drained of its power. This refusal is not recklessness, nor is an underestimation of what others might achieve together. It is instead a recognition that reacting with visible anxiety only emboldens opponents. The psychology of strength matters as much as the material strength itself. When a nation projects calm assurance in the face of orchestrated intimidation, it signals that it understands the difference between noise and substance. Concern suggests vulnerability. Composure communicates control. In a global arena where perception often shapes policy, the posture of confidence becomes a shield as effective as any missile system or military alliance. History shows how damaging misplaced concern can be. During past moments of international tension, overreactions have sometimes led nations commit resources, make concessions, or alter strategies in ways that ultimately strengthen their rivals. Fear magnifies threats beyond their real scale, causing miscalculations and giving adversaries exactly what they sought in the first place. The decision to remain outwardly unconcerned is therefore a calculated refusal to hand over this psychological victory. It is a way of maintaining the initiative rather than allowing others to dictate the tempo of events. There is also a message in this composure directed inward as much as outward. Citizens, markets, and allies all take cues from the tone set by leadership. If those at the helm express alarm, uncertainty cascades throughout the system. Markets become volatile, allies question commitments, and citizens lose confidence in their government's ability to manage challenges. But if the signal sent is one of steadiness, it reinforces trust. It reassures partners abroad that stability remains, and it reassures citizens at home that their nation is not rattled by spectacle. The absence of concern is thus not only a diplomatic tool, but also a domestic one, sustaining confidence in the resilience of national power. Ultimately, to show concern in the face of foreign pageantry would be to validate the strategy of those who stage it. By refusing to be alarmed, by rejecting the narrative of vulnerability, a nation turns the performance on its head. The spectacle no longer unsettles. It becomes background noise against the steady rhythm of enduring strength. In this way, the lack of concern is transformed into a quiet but powerful assertion of superiority when rival nations stand together on a platform, exchanging handshakes and smiles. The image is more than ceremony. It is a deliberate move crafted to suggest permanence, to signal that a new partnership is being forged with the power to shift the global balance. Such unity is never accidental. It is designed, rehearsed, and displayed for maximum effect. The underlying calculation is clear. By showing cohesion, they seek to project a strength greater than the sum of their parts. The optics of solidarity are powerful because they plant the idea that what was once separate now operates as one. This image, when broadcast across the world, is meant to unsettle opponents and to embolden those who look for alternatives to existing power structures. The strength of this tactic lies not only in the military or political weight of the participants, but in the story it tells. If adversaries can convince the world that their alignment represents a turning tide, then they gain influence without having to win a single battle. The parades, the shared stages, and the carefully worded declarations are tools of persuasion as much as tools of intimidation. They suggest inevitability, that history itself is now leaning in their direction. To the casual observer, such displays can seem like evidence that a new global order is emerging, one that challenges long-held assumptions about where power resides. Yet beneath the stagecraft lie tensions, competing interests, and fragile bonds. Nations that come together for spectacle often have as many reasons to distrust one another as they do to cooperate. They may share short-term goals, but their long-term visions frequently diverge. Resources, borders, ideology, and influence are constant sources of friction. The public image of solidarity masks these realities, and that is precisely the point. By showing unity on the surface, they hope to conceal the cracks that exist underneath. For a time, this illusion can be convincing, and it can shift conversations around the world in their favor. The deliberate nature of these moves means that they must be interpreted as strategy rather than as simple symbolism. When leaders appear together at parades or commemorations, they are not only honoring history, but also shaping perceptions of the present. They want rivals to believe they are witnessing the rise of something unbreakable, even if the truth is far less certain. This kind of calculated theater is part of the competition for influence. It is cheaper than war, more immediate than policy, and it travels quickly through media to every corner of the globe. The danger lies in the tendency of audiences to mistake appearance for reality. The sight of flying side by side of militaries marching in sync, or of leaders sharing a platform can generate the sense that alliances are ironclad. But the reality is more complicated. Appearances can magnify power, but they cannot create it. These moves are designed to shift perception, to gain leverage through the suggestion of strength rather than the substance of it. History offers a long record of coalitions rising with great fanfare only to dissolve under weight of their contradictions. From shifting alliances in Europe before the First World War to temporary blocs during the Cold War, rival powers have often tried to present themselves as unified fronts against a dominant nation. Each time, the narrative of an unstoppable new force was broadcast with urgency, and each time the endurance of established power ultimately outlasted it. The lesson is that appearances of unity are fragile, and true strength lies not in how loudly opponents announce their partnerships, but in how deeply they can sustain them. America has repeatedly demonstrated that it can withstand such cycles, drawing on a combination of military capability, diplomatic networks, and the steady appeal of its ideals. These qualities, more than any temporary arrangement abroad, have provided the resilience that ensures survival through uncertain times. The persistence of military dominance has been one reason rival coalitions rarely achieve their goals. Even when groups of nations join together, their combined strength often lacks the technological sophistication, logistical reach, and training necessary to challenge the unmatched arsenal held by the United States. History shows that those who attempted to compete on military terms were stretched thin, their resources depleted far faster than anticipated. Over time, alliances that seemed formidable in their first appearance began to crack when faced with the reality of maintaining parity against a power capable of projecting force and continents. Strategic patience has been another key to endurance. Rather than reacting impulsively to every new alignment, America has often chosen to outlast its rivals by wading out their internal disputes and contradictions. Alliances built on convenience rather than trust tend to falter as disagreements over goals and priorities emerge. When one member of a coalition pursues its own agenda, unity erodes and the facade of strength weakens. By resisting the urge to panic in the face of spectacle, America allows time itself to expose the fragility of its opponents' partnerships. Alliances of its own have further reinforced this endurance. From NATO to long-standing bilateral partnerships in Asia, these relationships rest not only on shared interests, but also on shared values. Unlike coalitions formed for short-term advantage, alliances rooted in common principles have proven more durable. They carry with them the weight of mutual defense, collective security, and an enduring trust built over decades. This trust provides resilience that outlasts the theatrics of rival powers who cannot match the depth of such commitments. Underlying all of this is the power of belief in liberty as a form of strength. While authoritarian systems may generate impressive displays of discipline, they often lack the deeper legitimacy that comes from the consent of the governed. This difference has allowed America to endure challenges that seemed insurmountable at the time. The appeal of freedom and the openness of society create a foundation that rivals struggle to replicate. It is this combination of force, patience, alliances, and ideals that has allowed America to face each new coalition with confidence rather than fear. Real strength is never found in the noise of foreign capitals or the synchronize the steps of soldiers marching down boulevards. It is not measured by the number of flags raised in unison or the thunder of warplanes crossing the skies in ceremonial formation. True power reveals itself in the foundations that cannot be staged, in the institutions and resources that sustain a nation over time, and in the ability to project stability when others attempt to generate fear. What happens abroad may dominate headlines for a moment, but the lasting measure of strength is rooted in what exists at home and how it is carried into the world. Unity within a nation is the first and most essential pillar of that strength. When a people stand together in belief that their system, their values, and their future are secure, no external alliance can easily fracture that resolve. Divisions may be exploited by rivals, but unity closes those cracks. The image of a society that debates openly, disagrees passionately, yet ultimately rallies around shared principles is a far more potent demonstration of power than any parade could convey. Foreign spectacles attempt to show harmony, but the unity that arises from genuine trust between a government and its citizens cannot be imitated by staged performances. Strategic leadership further defines real strength. A nation that responds with vision rather than panic, with patience rather than haste, and with clarity rather than confusion holds the advantage even when appearances seem against it. Rivals may rely on theatrics to unsettle, but leadership rooted in confidence signals to the world that no amount of display can force a change in direction. Decisions made not from fear but from calculation demonstrate a command of circumstances that is far more intimidating than displays of raw force. This kind of leadership assures allies, steadies markets, and denies adversaries the reaction they seek. Confidence projected abroad is the third element that transforms strength into influence. Allies watch closely to see whether promises will be kept, whether the nation at the center of the world order still has the determination to carry its weight. Enemies watch to see if hesitation or uncertainty has crept in. Confidence in tone, in action, and in policy makes a statement more powerful than any military parade. It tells the world that foundations are secure, that the nation remains in control of its destiny, and that no external choreography can dictate its path. These elements, unity at home, strategic leadership, and outward confidence, are the ingredients of lasting strength. They cannot be staged in a single afternoon, nor can they be erased by images of solidarity elsewhere. They are built over decades, reinforced through institutions and sustained by the belief of a people in their own resilience. Rivals may try to unsettle with optics, but optics are temporary. The bedrock of power lies not in appearances, but in the steady reality of a nation's capacity to endure and to lead. History is full of moments when coalitions abroad sought the established order through grand performances and declarations of inevitability. Yet time has repeatedly shown that these alliances, however imposing they may appear, often prove temporary. What endures is not the fleeting drama of their creation, but the steady resilience of nations that choose not to be swayed by appearances. Endurance, in this sense, is a quiet but powerful weapon. It allows a country to weather storms without surrendering to panic and to emerge stronger when others have exhausted themselves, trying to maintain unity that was never built last. Military force has always played a central role in this endurance. A nation that can project power across continents, defend its allies, and deter aggression holds an advantage that outlives pageantry. Rivals may put on elaborate shows of discipline, but sustaining genuine military parity requires resources, technology,